Welcome to Wine Club. I'm Stephanie, and this is the playlist where I drink good wine while I whine about bad books. And today's offender is not really an offender, but we'll get to that because I'm going to be talking about The Resort by Sarah Oaks. My sincere apologies if I am butchering that last name, because I do want to say this book is fine. Spoiler alert, I rated this 3 stars. It's not bad. I was hooked and needed to keep reading it until I reached a certain point, and then the book kind of lost me, and I just need to talk about it. I keep my monthly recaps pretty much spoiler free, so this is where I can reveal those spoilers and talk about it at Wine Club. So hint hint, there are going to be spoilers in this review. But before I get to that, I do want to say, as I say in all my reviews, that this is solely about the book, not about the author as a person. I am sure she is lovely. Also, before I go any further into the review, I do have to say that I'm going to be talking about some things that are covered in this book that might be very triggering. So if SA, the R word, or poor depictions of mental illness are a trigger for you, please do not continue with this review, and I would definitely advise against reading this book. Take care of you. All right, so if those aren't going to be an issue for you to hear about, let's go ahead and see what the book promised to be about before I go on a rant on a few key points, shall we? Welcome to paradise. We hope you survive your stay. There are 3 rules to follow during a vacation at the famous Koh Sang resort. Number 1, leave the past behind. When Cass sets foot on the coast of Thailand's world-famous party island, she's searching for an escape. With dark secrets following her every move, Koh Sang becomes the perfect place to hide. Number 2, always be careful who you trust. Now, years later, Cass is a local dive instructor alongside the Permanents, a group of expats who have claimed the island as their own. The Permanents don't linger on who they were before the island, simply because, like Cass, they all have something to outrun. Number 3, if someone discovers who you really are, run. But suddenly, a dive student is found dead, and paradise comes crashing down. Because this isn't the first mysterious death on the island, and it won't be the last. Someone knows who Cass is, and they're ready to make sure that justice is finally served. So, like I said, I was so into this. The mystery had me, and I wanted to know who the killer was and understand why they were doing what they were doing and terrorizing Cass and threatening to out her and her secret and her own murderous past. But the book ends up getting pretty convoluted because the deaths aren't really connected to Cass at all. There are essentially 2 things happening at the same time, so you think they're related, but they're not. So the guests are getting killed at the same time that someone is just mentally terrorizing Cass, and it's just a random coincidence. So I'm going to talk about the plot a bit. So again, last spoiler warning, I'm going to reveal everything that happens in this book. Our book goes back and forth between Cass and this character Brooke's point of view. So Cass has run away to Thailand to escape her murderous reputation. So we know right off the bat that something terrible happened in a hotel room with Cass at the center because she has a lot of nightmares about it. It's something that she's trying to hide from other people. She has these nightmares about like blood and knives and having killed someone. Okay, we get it. We know what she's running away from. She now lives in Thailand with the other Permanents, including her new fiancé, Logan, who's also hiding a secret, Doug, who's hiding a secret, Greta, who's hiding a secret, Neil, who's hiding a secret, and they all work for Frederick, who, surprise, surprise, is hiding a secret. So then Brooke comes into the picture. Brooke is a beautiful travel influencer who wants to ingratiate herself with the Permanents. While doing that, guests at the resort start dying, which is odd since another traveler recently died at this well-known hiking trail. The hiker who died was named Jacinta, and no one seems to know what happened to her, even though her death has been ruled as an accident. So Cass works as a dive instructor at the resort, and she has a new group of these guys that are taking a 2-day diving course, and some of the group is acting a bit odd. So there's Lucy, who seems extremely nervous. There's Daniel, who's a little aggressive in displaying his interest in Lucy. And then a couple, Tamar and Ariel makes some interesting statements to Cass and how it's not safe at the resort. So one night the group ends up drinking a bit too much, and Cass is also a pill popper, and her memory is hazy of how she got home and what happened. So she goes to her dive class and ends up finding Lucy's body being held down in the water. So after finding Lucy's body, she's starting to try and piece together what happens. She thinks maybe Daniel's involved. She follows him. He's acting all shifty, but then, oh, nope, he ends up dead too. So trying to figure out what in the hell is going on here. Well, we kind of start to figure it out. So we do get the reveal that Brooke is the one who knows who Cass is and is leaving her these threatening notes. So now we're sitting here wondering, why is she targeting her? How does Brooke even know Cass? And I have to say, this is the part that made this get a wine club episode, because this is where the book really lost me. So we essentially find out that in college, Brooke was writing a story on this star athlete of the swim team, and while she was interviewing him, they were flirting a little bit, so he invited her over to a party. She gets to his place, and he has a little group of friends over, and a woman lets him into the house. The guy takes Brooke upstairs, and Brooke sees this scoreboard. I think you know where this is going. He ends up assaulting her and R-wording her. And then we find out that Cass was at the party, and Brooke holds her accountable for letting this happen to her. It's tragic. It is tragic that this happened to Brooke. It should not have happened. But it's even more tragic that Brooke turns around and takes her anger out on another woman who holds no responsibility for what happened. Cass didn't know. Cass isn't your keeper. She's not your Jiminy Cricket. Like, I understand it's a terrible thing that happened. But why isn't Brooke putting her effort into terrorizing the man who did it? Brooke does end up realizing that her anger with Cass is misplaced, but just in time for Cass to die in the end. Like, wow. So I have to say, this book also did a thing that I don't like. The point of views are in first person, but the characters have to stop certain thoughts so we can save them for the big reveal, or think in riddles in their own head to hide certain reveals, or even worse, in the case of Brooke, do a complete 180 after the reveal. Brooke seems ready to jump up Cass's ass, say that 5 times fast, but then once we know her real motivation, she is cold and practically snarling every word that she says to Cass, and is just hating Cass in her own head. Stop. Authors, I beg you. Do not write in first person when you have to keep secrets from the readers. Again, Brooke did not deserve what happened to her at all, and it is awful. But it infuriated me when we found out that she has spent all this money, all this effort to hurt Cass. And for what? Because Cass's murder history, it's not as dark as I expected. We find out that her mom passed away, and then her dad has bipolar disorder, but kind of just lets it run untreated. So Cass and her sister were meeting with him, and Cass decides to drug him to make it easier for her to manage him and then talk to him about it. But her sister ends up drinking the spiked drink instead. Little sister had a heart condition that Cass didn't know about, and the Xanax-laced drink ends up killing her little sister. Their dad then attacks Cass over this, and so she kills him as a form of self-defense. I feel so bad for Cass. The way it was written was that she actively, sought out a kill, not out of saving her own life. So I already gave away that Cass doesn't survive the climax of the book. She takes a fucking bullet for Brooke. But she's not the only casualty, because we've got some twists coming. So we find out that Lucy was Jacinta's sister and came here to find out what happened, and Greta realized who she was, so Greta drowned her, And then Doug and Logan were going to play cleanup crew with her body. So while the big showdown is happening, Logan also dies and is stabbed by Neil. Brooke thinks he does this to protect her. So Brooke and Neil have had kind of like a little mini romance going on. Brooke's been chasing down Cass. Cass was engaged to Logan. But then no. Because we have an epilogue. We find out that, unlike Cass, Neil actually does enjoy killing people. He's the one who pushed Jacinta off the hiking trail, and now he and Brooke are leaving Thailand, and he's positively gleeful about who he can kill when they find their next home. I would have appreciated that reveal a lot more had we seen more from him or gotten more hints. The book had such potential, and it was working so well for me. Up until Brooke's backstory, I was just so frustrated with her. Cass didn't deserve this. She didn't deserve any of this. And even that, Cass did kill her father, but it wasn't premeditated, or it wasn't like she was itching for a kill and he just happened to be her first. I do think Logan would have been able to handle hearing about how she had to defend herself against him. Like, she just makes it seem like such a big deal. And like, yes, she did end up killing her father, but again, she's not like seeking this out. Like, she just makes it sound like such a big secret and that people will hate her. If Logan really does love you, he would listen, he would understand. Oh, I should also add that, like, all the secrets everyone else is hiding, because again, this Kosang just attracts all these people. So we find out that Greta had a girlfriend, Alice, but we don't really see much of Alice besides some, like, DMs that she's sending to Brooke. But we find out that Greta is a Michael Scott's dating profile screen name, little kid lover, and groomed one of her students and basically made Alice run away to Thailand with her so they could be away from Alice's parents. Alice does escape and get back home. So Logan's dark secret is that he killed his brother by driving drunk. Doug has some assault charges waiting for him in his home of Australia, and Frederick is guilty of fraud, and I think maybe it's tax evasion. I don't remember fully. So again, like I said, I did rate this 3 stars, and I didn't hate it. I wish some of the motivations and things behind the plot were a little bit stronger. This ended up just being a very middle-of-the-road read. I do think if Sarah had leaned into making Cass an actual killer by choice and had, like, lured Brooke to that house that night she was attacked, it would have made Brooke's motivation a lot stronger. The motivations and the need to keep secrets would have been a lot stronger. As it stands, I just couldn't get over Brooke's obsession with hurting Cass instead of the monster who did hurt her. She zeroes in so much on Cass when there were other people at this party. Or, again, go after the guy who did this. Go ruin his life. It really frustrated me that this was how it played out. Again, I wish the motivations had been a little bit stronger, the backstory's a little bit stronger, or give me an actual reason for Brooke to be this dedicated to hunting down Cass. Like, we know through Brooke's point of view that she's doing this on the last bit of her savings. She doesn't have much money anymore. So why are you doing it? It wasn't Cass's fault. It was the guy who did it to you. Blame him and hold him responsible. Again, fine. I do think this was a good debut. I am excited to see what else we'll get from her in the future. Again, good writing. This had me hooked. I loved the setting. I liked so many things about this. I just really did not like that reveal. And then even worse, the reveal at the end with Neil. It kind of felt like how I feel about All I Want by Darcy Bell. It was almost like the publisher was like, "What? You can't publish it like this. We need one more final twist that, like, nobody could see coming." And Yeah, because it doesn't really make sense. I don't know that guy. I don't know that character. Just reads kind of weird. Again, make Cass like a legit killer and I would have been here for it. Like I said, 3 stars. I just had a few things that I needed to whine about as it came to reading this book, but I still, overall, enjoyed my time with it. So please, let me know if you have any recommendations for thrillers that are set in like a beachy setting, as I would love to read them. Otherwise, I will see you next time at Wine Club. Doug, who's hiding a secret. Greta, who's hiding a secret. Oh shit, what's Redhead's name? Then Doug and Logan were gonna team up and play a clean. Oh jeez.